Welcome to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some news stories, shall we? The first story is called New Management Rules. I now own my own training company, but one of my first professional jobs was working as a personal trainer for a small chain which was later bought out by the big Canadian gym corporation. I was new to personal training at the time. But due to a high-level amateur and low-level professional athletics and coaching background, I was exceptionally good at what I did, and quickly made myself noticed in an industry mainly populated by people who relied on looking good as much as being skilled. One thing that anyone who has worked with a personal trainer will know about is that most have a no-show charge policy, where if you do not cancel an appointment well in advance, usually 24 hours, you will be charged as if you used that training session. In practice, it is not always invoked, but the threat of it prevents unreliable clients from taking up prime time spots and then not showing up when that spot could have been easily filled with another client. Since most trainers are only paid for time spent with a client, this is critical for keeping a steady paycheck, as about 70% of a trainer's regular income will come from just 4 hours out of the day. The way things worked at this gym, and worked very well for several years, was consultants set up new clients with trainers train the clients and do their best to sell them more training, and the managers get paid salary for 8 hours to do about 2 hours of paperwork, showing up sometime around 11 and leaving before 4 and chilling out in the middle. Supposedly, the manager's job was to manage the training department, do scheduling, train new trainers, get new contracts and alike. Which sounds like a full-time job. As the training department represented something like 60% of the gym's total revenue and made more than twice as much as a gym that size was expected to, everyone assumed they were doing that job. In practice, they just hired skilled trainers who did all the work on their own, and all the managers really had to do was sign off on new training contracts, some general administrative work, and sign off on no-show-ups. It worked well, and even as the smallest gym in the company, we were consistently in the top 3 for revenue, usage and client satisfaction. Unfortunately, about 3 years into my tenure there, the training manager got a much better paying job opportunity. And the assistant training manager was bumped into the manager's job and told to handle the position on his own as a trial to see if it could be run with only one manager. The new manager, realizing he would need to put in a solid 4 hours a day to keep the place running, promptly left to go work somewhere else that his talents of working 2 hours a day and hiring people to do his job for him would be appreciated. I would have followed him too if I hadn't lacked the specific degree the new employer wanted. The old, lazy but effective management was unfortunately replaced by a new manager girl and an assistant manager. She was 23, engaged, had a generally nice personality, had a degree and was, from all reports, a fine personal trainer. However, her administrative and team leadership skills were limited to looking cute in uniforms which were a size too small. Her assistant was 25, a jerk, and his administrative skills consisted of satisfying the needs of the manager, despite not being the person she was engaged to. I know the industry is largely made up of early 20-somethings, but you'd figure there'd have been at least someone with some administrative or management experience available to take the job. But it turns out there aren't a whole lot of people willing to manage a bunch of 20-somethings for mediocre pay. The new management decides to follow the old management's style of barely showing up for the day, spending the majority of their hours in the coffee shop beside the building, and spending the majority of their time on site in critically important closed-door meetings in her office, each of which took about a half hour and occurred twice a day. The one major change they did make though was that all no-show charges needed to be signed off by a manager at the time they were charged. And the trainer was to remain on site and work for that hour. What a trainer is meant to do with no one to train was left a mystery. Previously, trainers would just have the manager sign off on any no-show-ups once per day or the next morning after, if management had gone home for the night. When it was suggested that this is a stupid idea that would waste both the manager and trainer's time, the trainers were told they needed to be reminded that management is in charge and they work for the company, not themselves, despite all evidence suggesting otherwise before this point. This naturally threw the training staff into an instant rage, as trainers often take clients as early as 5 and as late as 9 at night, and normally if your first client for the day cancelled and you didn't have another booking until 8, you could stay home till then, or leave early if your last booking was at 9 and you found that out at 7. Now you had to come and stay for those 2 extra unpaid hours to get paid for the one paid one, despite the client having to pay for the session either way. The theory was that trainers spending the extra time at the gym would find new clients, when the fact was, anyone in at those times who wanted a trainer already had one. In addition, with the management team on site for almost none of the prime training hours and spending the majority of their time on site training their hips while locked in an office, trainers could not get paid when clients no-showed them, as management would not sign off on it if it was more than an hour after the fact, despite not being around most of the day. Trainers responded by not taking less than 100% reliable clients in slots they can't get paid for if they don't show, or just not making as many hours available in a day. So now our numbers are going down and we are getting paid less, and potential new clients are walking away annoyed that no one has availability. An informal meeting was called among the trainers to discuss contacting the regional manager about this. However, his policy was to do nothing whenever possible, so I suggest a little something else instead, and pitch the others on my idea, and we all agree. Starting the next day, all no-show charges when management was not present were placed in the booking and scheduling program with a note that no management was available to authorize. During the time management was there, we made sure that the coffee shop had a constant stream of trainers going in to authorize the no-show-ups, and that no one left to get a sign-off until the previous person returned, maximizing the amount of time the process would take. When they were in meetings, we would knock on the door non-stop until they came out to authorize, and then 2 minutes later the next person would start knocking. Trainers who used to congregate in the staff room for coffee would make sure to spread out to every free office with a lockable door to do paperwork, including ones who weren't even obligated to be there but had nothing better to do, making sure there was never an empty office during any regular hour of the day. I went a step further, making a point to book people who I suspected would no-show during the few hours that management was actually on site and one of these meetings would be going on. Since the doors had the world's worst locks, I would use a credit card to open it and just walk in as if it had been unlocked to get them to sign off. I never caught them doing something specific, but there was more than once where I politely suggested to the manager that the most productive way to hold a meeting is probably not from on her assistant's lap, and I would be happy to haul another chair in if she needed one. One would think that this would have learned them their lesson. But instead of easing off the stupid rule or actually doing their jobs, they decide to complain to the regional manager about how they're being harassed by trainers at all hours of the day, and this is the reason our numbers are down. The regional manager, having known me for some time, calls me to ask what is up and why numbers are down, as management is sending him vague complaints and giving him the runaround. Since numbers are down, soon he's going to have to do something. And doing something is what this guy hates the most. I try to be as nice as possible and suggest that they are just inexperienced and that if the new rule were relaxed or removed, then the training staff could get back to generating money and the management could get back to their work out in peace. Next Monday, all the training department is called to a mandatory meeting the next week, in which the regional manager will be present to clarify some important company policies, including the no-show policy. I walk in with a smug grin on my face, but so do the managers. After the brief intro, in which the regional manager states that these policy clarifications are to be considered the law and followed to the letter, as regional manager already had to do something, and no one's job is safe if he has to do something again before the end of the month, he then proceeds to announce the new rules regarding no-shows. Due to it being put in place to prevent fraud and abuse, all no-shows still must be signed off on at the time they are issued, unless management is in a staff meeting, in which case they can be signed off on after the meeting is finished. Trainers are now free to leave once it's been signed off on. Trainers are not to harass or interrupt staff meetings when the office doors are closed, or interrupt management's breaks when they are off-site. If they are in a meeting and a no-show needs signing, it can be signed once the meeting is completed. My jaw hits the floor. It's a minor concession but plays right into the management's hands, and I begin to wonder if the manager has been having closed-door meetings with the regional manager as well, but then he continues on with the rest of the policy. In order to better serve our customers and keep training usage numbers up, either a manager or assistant manager is to be on site at all times when clients are booked for training. One manager will be working a 5 till 3 shift, the other will work 2 till 10. They may alternate as they see fit. Management will have their legally mandated breaks each day and are not to be disturbed during those times whether they are on-site or off, as is mandated by provincial employment law. They will be available and on-site at all other times. In order to be sure that they are no longer interrupted when in a meeting, the glass office downstairs has been set aside for staff meetings. If management is inside and trainers observe them having a meeting or on the phone, trainers are not to disturb them until they are finished. The upstairs offices with opaque doors are now to be used for general administrative work, paperwork, and scheduling only and will be kept unlocked while the gym is open. As no-shows impact our numbers directly and therefore take priority over administrative work, trainers may freely interrupt anyone doing this to get the no-show signed off on in a timely manner. Needless to say, our training usage numbers were back up within 2 weeks. The assistant manager did not last that long. The manager actually turned into a decent hands-off manager for the next year or so, and only left after she got a new job in the building where the assistant manager had ended up. Apparently, it was too much to walk a block, have a meeting, and come back within a half hour. The last story is called Sleeping on the Job. I worked security for years and was good at my job and took it seriously. While working at the mall, we had a dispatcher and a guard. The dispatcher would literally document everything. You checked an area and radio it. Documented. They would also make all the required calls. Maintenance needed to be notified. Done. After 1 year of patrol, I got moved to dispatch and loved it. It also came with a pay raise. I did that for another year and a half. I had a great coworker and we got everything taken care of in a timely manner. Well, one day he fell asleep and was fired instantly. That's where things went downhill fast. A new person then gets hired. She's a friend of the director. A special friend if you catch my drift. She comes on and starts patrol. After day 1, she says she can't walk that much and I need to do her job. I tell her my title is dispatcher and it's her job to unlock the doors. She says, well, I guess they just won't get done. We get phone call after phone call of workers trying to get inside. I get up to go do it and a supervisor comes in and asks why the doors are still locked. I advise what happened and they said, well, you need to unlock the doors sooner, so go. I'm dumbfounded. It's her job but I have to do it. Eventually, it comes to the point where she can't even drive the car around the lot for some reason. She ends up sitting in dispatch because she can't do the job and if it doesn't get done, it's on me for some reason. I was still getting the extra money but was doing regular patrol again. She then falls asleep while I'm out riding. I approach a vehicle in the lot and they hop out wanting to fight me. All we are armed with is pepper spray. I radio her asking to call law enforcement, no answer. Attempting to radio her multiple times, no answer. This guy was 3 feet from me and was angry. I jumped in the car and called the police and he tears off. When I make it back to the dispatch room, she's there sleeping mouth wide open passed out. I record a video of it. I attempt to wake her again, on video. No answer. I had to bang on the desk to wake her. I was done doing 2 jobs. At that point, I was still entering all the data for dispatch and patrolling. I take the evidence to the director and say we need to do something about this and explain what happened. He said, stop pestering her and do your job. I said fine, what job do you want me to do, dispatch or patrol? He said patrol because she can't. Okay, I start doing my job of patrol at 100% while she was sleeping at the desk and I had the police on speed dial, no longer relying on her. I take care of the whole mall to a point everyone's happy again, everyone except our company who's asking, why are you not doing your rounds? They are not recorded in our data. Or why are these alarms not being entered or this incident? I tell them to check our fobs as we have scanner tags, to prove my job is being done perfectly. I advise them that data entry is the dispatcher's job but the director doesn't mind her sleeping on duty. They were shocked. I continue my job using the radio occasionally to which she never answers. Finally, mall management starts to get upset because she's calling for stupid reasons and not calling for good reasons. I was no longer telling her when to call, so she was doing it all wrong. They put her on patrol for a day and she wrecks the car. Instead of firing her, they put her back in dispatch where she continues to do a horrible job and still not entering data like she's supposed to. I start looking for a new job and get a better paying one doing ambulance dispatch. I approached the director one final time and lay it on the line, I like working here. I love doing dispatch. I want a reason to stay but if you don't fire her for sleeping like you did my original co-worker, then this is my 2 weeks notice. He takes my paper and says to turn in my uniform at the end of the 2 weeks. The ambulance job ended up being even better so I'm glad he did. I still had friends at the mall and I checked in from time to time. When I left, the doors were not getting unlocked, patrols not being done, and phones not being answered. The director was fired not too long after and the new director found a new job before he was going to let her go. She still works there, possibly doing dispatch and sleeping like always. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comments section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.